It was a cold dawn, the kind that clings to the bones and fills the air with a hushed, waiting stillness. In the distance, a man sat astride his horse, his eyes narrowing as he surveyed the landscape before him. He was Thomas Stonewall Jackson, a figure so resolute, so enigmatic, that he seemed carved from the very granite of his nickname. Though Jackson is often remembered as a Confederate general in the American Civil War, it is his internal landscape that provides the richest ground for exploration. Born into poverty in 1824 in what was then Virginia, Jackson was shaped by hardship from his earliest days. His father's death when he was a young boy left the family in financial ruin, and his mother's subsequent death plunged him into an even deeper void of loss. Orphaned by the age of 7, Jackson was sent to live with relatives who were often indifferent to his plight. The boy who would one day lead armies first learned to survive in an unforgiving world through sheer willpower and self-reliance. The scars of this early abandonment remained with Jackson throughout his life, seeping into his character in ways that would later define him. He became a man of rigid discipline, an unyielding perfectionist who saw weakness, his own or others, as something to be overcome through grit and faith. Though he was mocked by his peers for his awkwardness and unpolished demeanor, Jackson rose above the derision, excelling in his studies and demonstrating an innate talent for strategy and leadership. Yet there was an underlying tension in Jackson's life, a profound insecurity masked by the armor of his discipline. He was a man who sought certainty in a world rife with unpredictability. This manifested most clearly in his deeply religious convictions. Jackson was a devout Presbyterian, and his faith served as both a refuge and a framework for understanding the world. He believed that every event, no matter how devastating, was part of a divine plan. This belief, while a source of comfort, also provided a lens through which he justified his actions on the battlefield, a lens that enabled him to reconcile the violence of war with his moral code. Jackson's psychological landscape was further shaped by his intense focus and compartmentalization. He had an almost obsessive ability to narrow his attention to a single goal, shutting out distractions and emotions that might interfere with his purpose. This trait made him a formidable commander, but also a man of contradictions. He could be tender and loving toward his family, particularly his wife, Anna, while maintaining a cold detachment in the face of the carnage he wrought on the battlefield. This duality, fierce devotion on one hand, calculated ruthlessness on the other, offers a glimpse into the complex psyche of a man driven by duty, faith, and an unyielding sense of mission. As the Civil War erupted, Jackson's rise to prominence was meteoric. His stand at the First Battle of Bull Run earned him the nickname Stonewall, a tribute to his unflinching resolve under fire. Jackson's campaigns in the Shenandoah Valley and his role in key Confederate victories showcased his brilliance as a tactician. But Jackson's brilliance came at a cost. His relentless pursuit of victory often pushed his men to the brink of exhaustion, and his strict discipline alienated some of his subordinates. He demanded absolute obedience and was known for his harsh punishments, a reflection of the high standards he set for himself and those under his command. This intensity was not born of cruelty, but of a profound sense of responsibility. Jackson believed that the stakes of the war justified his methods, and he was willing to bear the burden of their consequences. In his private moments, however, cracks in Jackson's stoic facade began to appear. He suffered from a variety of physical ailments, including mysterious bouts of pain and fatigue that some modern scholars attribute to post-traumatic stress or neurological conditions. Yet Jackson rarely allowed these struggles to surface publicly, maintaining an image of unwavering strength that inspired his troops and cemented his legend. The final chapter of Jackson's life unfolded at the Battle of Chancellorsville in May 1863. In a tragic twist of fate, Jackson was accidentally shot by his own men during the chaos of battle. His death was a devastating blow to the Confederacy, but it also marked the end of a life defined by both extraordinary achievement and profound inner conflict. To view Jackson solely through the lens of his military exploits is to miss the deeper story of a man shaped by loss, faith, and an unrelenting drive to impose order on a chaotic world. His actions, both on and off the battlefield, were the product of a mind that sought meaning in struggle and purpose in sacrifice. He was a man who lived by a code that left little room for compromise, yet he carried the weight of his decisions with a solemnity that spoke to the depth of his character. In the end, Stonewall Jackson remains an enigma, a figure of both admiration and controversy, a hero to some and a symbol of a fractured nation to others. His life, examined through the lens of psychology, reveals the complex interplay of ambition, faith, and vulnerability that defined him. As the echoes of his battles fade into history, Jackson's legacy endures as a testament to the enduring complexity of the human spirit.